May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker, I rise to have read for a second time and lead the debate of the Extradition Bill 2025, which had its first reading on May 2nd, 2025. Madam Speaker, this bill, Madam Deputy Speaker, my apologies, is a major step forward in modernizing our justice system and protecting the good name of St. Kitts and Nevis. I want to repeat that, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is a major step forward in modernizing our justice system and protecting the good name of St. Kitts and Nevis. Let me say this clearly. Our current extradition law is outdated. It was written in 1946 when we were still under colonial rule. It is only 2 sections long, and it leans heavily on laws from the United Kingdom, specifically referencing 2 such laws which are over 150 years old. It offers no proper guidance to our police, our courts, or even our government. It does not reflect the world we live in today in 2025. A world where crime often crosses borders and where cooperation with other countries is essential. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, most importantly, the original Extradition Act subjected us to laws passed in the UK Parliament, not ours. In other words, if the UK Parliament debated a change to the extradition laws on April 12, 2025, those changes would apply in independent St. Kitts and Nevis. We can't have that, Madam Speaker. We can't be subjected to UK laws at this day and age in our 42 years into independence. It is an opportunity for us to fix that colonial incomprehension. Now, Madam Speaker, what is extradition? It is the legal process through which one country formally requests the return of a person who is either accused of committing a serious crime or has already been convicted of a crime in that country and who is now present in another country. It is a critical tool for ensuring that individuals cannot evade justice simply by crossing a border. Extradition protects public safety by making sure that serious offenders such as murderers, traffickers, fraudsters, and terrorists are held accountable wherever they may try to hide. For example, Madam Deputy Speaker, imagine someone commits a serious offense in country A and escapes to country B. Country A can then formally ask country B to return that person so they can either stand trial or serve a prison sentence. If both countries have an agreement, or if the laws of country B allow for it, and if certain legal safeguards are in place to protect the person's rights, then the extradition can go ahead. It is to be noted that extradition usually applies to serious crimes such as murder, drug trafficking, and large-scale fraud. However, the process is not automatic. Each request is reviewed carefully by the government and the courts to ensure it meets legal requirements. There are also important protections built into the process. For example, a person cannot be extradited if the request is on the basis of political views, race, or other discriminatory reasons. In some cases, countries may also choose not to extradite their own citizens, especially if they believe the person can be fairly prosecuted or punished at home. Now, why is it important to have an extradition act that is modern and is not based on the principles that were established 150 years ago in England? Having clear, modern extradition laws is essential for St. Kitts and Nevis to be seen as a trustworthy and responsible member of the international community. Madam Speaker, I wish to re-emphasize that. It is important, given things that have happened in the past, that we regain our good name in the international community. It shows that we are committed to justice, the rule of law, and cooperation with our regional and global partners. By ensuring that our legal framework meets international standards, we send a strong message that our country will not be a safe haven for fugitives. Instead, we stand ready to assist in the fair and lawful return of persons to face justice, while also ensuring that anyone subject to extradition is treated with dignity and protected by due process. Now, Madam Speaker, if you allow me to go through part by part the bill. Part 1 tells us that the bill applies to people who are accused of or convicted of serious crimes in other countries. It explains that if someone commits a serious offense overseas, like fraud, drug trafficking, human trafficking, or murder, and tries to hide in St. Kitts or Nevis, they can be sent back to face justice in that other country. It also makes clear that if a petitioner on evasion is wrongly accused abroad, they're entitled to fair process and legal protections before any decision on extradition is made. Part 2 deals with our relationship with other CARICOM countries. This part explains how we handle extradition requests from our neighbors in CARICOM. Under the CARICOM Arrest Warrant Treaty, we already agreed to make it easier to send criminals back and forth between member countries. This bill makes that work smoothly within our local laws. So if someone commits a serious crime in Grenada or St. Lucia and hides here, or vice versa, we now have a clear path to return them. Part 3 involves returning offenders to other Commonwealth countries. The bill deals with Commonwealth countries like Canada, the UK, and Australia. This section allows us to respond to extradition requests from those countries if we have a treaty or arrangement in place. It also ensures that anyone being returned has committed an offense that would be considered serious here. Anybody being returned has committed an offense that would be considered serious here at home as well. So, for example, Madam Speaker, let's use a wild example. If in country B, it was a serious offense to pull the tail of a donkey, in St. Kitts, that would not be considered a serious offense. So if a St. Kitts Nevis national in that country B pulled the tail of a donkey and has either been charged or is threatened to be charged and they've returned to St. Kitts and Nevis, what this law does, it says it must be a serious offense here as well. And therefore, the authorities here, the court here, could decide that pulling the tail of a donkey in country B is not serious enough to then extradite that person back to another Commonwealth country. Part 4, Madam Speaker, deals with extradition to other foreign countries. This is where we cover countries like the US, Taiwan, or any other place we've signed a treaty with. The Minister of Justice has the power to officially recognize countries for extradition purposes, and any person wanted in those countries for serious crimes like terrorism, financial crimes, or trafficking can be considered for return. I want to point out we do have extradition treaties with the United States and with Taiwan, and we are in discussions to enter into extradition treaties with other countries. Part 5, Madam Deputy Speaker. What happens after a request is made? This section explains, or this part explains, a step-by-step process. 1. A foreign country sends a formal request to our Minister of Justice. 2. If everything is in order, the minister gives the go-ahead. 3. The police can arrest the person even on a provisional basis if time is short. 4. The person must be brought before a magistrate within 48 hours. 5. The magistrate checks if there is enough evidence and whether the person should be committed for extradition. 6. If the person agrees to, they can consent right away. If not, they can appeal. 7. After the court's review, the minister decides whether to issue the final order for extradition. And naturally, that decision will be made in cabinet. Throughout this process, the person under threat of extradition has the right to a lawyer, to appeal, and to be treated fairly. Now, the people of this country may ask, and you may ask, Madam Deputy Speaker, what stops someone from being extradited? A person cannot be extradited under this legislation if the offense is political, not criminal. If they are targeted because of their race, religion, nationality, or political views. if they wouldn't get a fair trial in that other country, if they've already been tried for the same offense, and if the person is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis and the minister decides not to extradite them. But naturally, the minister must have good reason, as any public official must have good reason to take certain decisions. Now, there are other important provisions which I wish the people of this country to know about in this bill, Madam Deputy Speaker. The bill makes it clear and easier for courts to accept properly certified foreign documents like arrest warrants and convictions. If someone is arrested with stolen property or evidence, it can be handed over to the other country. If someone isn't extradited within a set time, they can apply to be released. People passing through our country while being extradited elsewhere can be held temporarily. If someone is returned to St. Kitts and Nevis, they can only be prosecuted for the crime they were returned for unless special permission is given. If a person agrees to be extradited quickly, or if a trusted country makes a straightforward request, the bill allows for a simplified process to speed things up, while still ensuring basic rights are respected. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's not a long bill, but it is very important because it sets out the entire extradition framework in clear, modern language. It is a bill that, 1, protects our borders, 2, protects our people, and 3, protects our reputation. If we want to be known as a sustainable island state, one that is modern, fair, and globally respected, then we must have strong, clear laws that allow us to work with our partners around the world. This bill also helps us to fight transnational crime, keep our CBI program clean from abuse, show the world that we are a reliable partner in justice and security, protect our society from those who try to use our country as a safe haven for crime. The Extradition Bill 2025, Madam Deputy Speaker, is legally necessary, morally right, and internationally responsible. It is fair, balanced, and long overdue. I therefore respectfully ask this Honourable House to pass this bill and allow St. Kitts and Nevis to stand tall on the international stage as a country that upholds justice, not just at home, but wherever justice must be served. May it please you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General.